Welcome back to RFL as we continue our In Context review of two critical headlines. Next, we talk about prison education. Now, the subject, it sparked headlines in February when New York Governor Andrew Cuomo unexpectedly announced his support for public funding of prison college degree programs. Cuomo, he cited the comparatively low cost for these programs, about $5 grand for an inmate, and their near 100% effectiveness at preventing recidivism. Inmates who earn degrees on the inside rarely, if ever, less than 1%, ever go back once they're released. Now this week, the governor, he took back that push for public funding, saying instead that expanding prison education would have to come from private funding sources. Now many critics had slammed the governor for his initial proposal, likening it to a sort of freebie scholarship for criminals. Prison education is a subject that RFL has been covering for years before the back and forth in Albany. And it's also something that I in this program strongly believe is of enormous benefit, not just for the prisoners who get the degrees behind bars and earn them, but even more importantly to everybody else as well. And tonight, got a pair of pieces that we think will provide the necessary context to this debate. First, a look at prison education program called Hudson Link, and we hear from inmates and their loved ones on what these programs can do. Our report is narrated by our own Dominic Carter.
It's not a typical classroom, and study habits are certainly in a unique setting, but it's an education that's very much about turning lives around and breaking lifelong cycles of returning to prison.
You see, hope has hands. Hands that can reach down and pick you up when you fall. Hope has ears. Ears that can hear opportunity knocking. When the radio of disappointment is turned up loud. Hope has a voice that yells out, "You're better than this. You can beat this." When the clouds of doubt begin to form overhead. And hope also has a heart that pumps love when you feel lost and alone.
And for the families of the inmates, they have had a lifetime of nothing but heartache and embarrassment.
I went so far as to rob my mother after she spent her hard-earned money to send me to parochial school of her opportunity to see her only son graduate from high school in 1988. I had the audacity not to even show up at graduation, and she had to suffer the humility of going to school and picking up my diploma. I had to live with that shame for 21 years.
Live life, be happy, stay healthy and hopeful, and I'll be home as soon as I can. Take care of you. I love you. To my baby girl, I spent less than 24 hours with you in the last 10 years. Karen Alicia, your forgiveness, your love, and your friendship is heaven to me. Even if you and everybody else can forgive me, I can't forgive myself.
But the bottom line, hundreds have graduated with college degrees from the highly successful Hudson Link program, and not one person has returned to prison.
To see this is it's a lot, and I'm thankful to Mercy College, to Hudson Link, and everybody that was able to do something for my child to help that when he gets out of here, that he can walk out and do something for somebody else.
Now, we also got the perspective of someone who knows this program probably better than anyone else. Sean Pica was an inmate himself at Sing Sing, that maximum security facility you just saw. Sean not only got his degree, but he works within the system now, and he's spearheaded in many ways the lives of many who have gotten their degrees as a consequence. Take a listen to our earlier conversation.
We essentially wanted to affect change in one person through educating at one degree at a time. 15 years later, we've realized firsthand that each individual that we get a degree to, literally the ripple effect on the lives that they affect back in their own families, within the prison, and back in their communities, you can't even measure. It's gone so far back into the community.
Well, do some math for everybody, Sean. What does it cost to house and watch an inmate on an annual basis?
Currently in New York State, it's $60,000 a year to incarcerate a man and woman, while we're educating an individual student for $5,000 annually.
So then the question is, all right, you spend $5 grand, and to this point it's all been through private donations,
Yep.
no taxpayer dollars. How many people have graduated, and how many people have come back into the walls? Because recidivism on I guess it's about 40%, right, on a regular basis.
43% nationally. New York is actually a little bit lower. We do a pretty good job at with reentry work here in New York. But if you look at the number of 43% nationally at $60,000 a year, if you look at the 303 graduates over 14 years, that's millions of dollars a year we're saving New York taxpayers.
And how many of those 303 have gone back behind the walls?
2 men in 14 years have returned to prison.
My gosh.
So it's less than 1% of the population that has gone through the program has returned to prison. When I went to prison, I was only in the 9th grade. So now the fact that I got a chance to get a college degree before I left in 2002 gave me a glimpse into a second chance. Doesn't give you the second chance, gives you the opportunity for it. And when I walked out of prison, I realized right away that even though the only thing I left with was that college degree, it was all I needed. And there was employment almost immediately. Every single one of our men and women is currently working in an environment that's pretty rough on a lot of people. We've concentrated mostly on the social services field, so we're social workers, caseworkers, service providers, HIV/AIDS counselors, and we're really good at it. About 4 years into this, at one of the graduations, one of the daughters, who was about 11 or 12 at the time, went up to her father and said, "You know what, Dad, if you can do it, I can do it." It was the first time I realized that this was bigger than just one student, one degree, because we're affecting communities that traditionally aren't going to college. So we're breaking that cycle of recidivism, but we're also breaking cycles of poverty that are really affecting the criminal justice system. So there's so many different positions at play here that we're affecting, that we're not getting any state and federal funding for. We're doing this without it.
And again, everyone, we want you to participate. Listen, you know how I feel about this. You got to spend 60 grand to lock these guys up every year compared to 5 grand where they can get a degree, and they got to earn it and stay out of trouble. It's a good investment, but agree or disagree, let's get your take. Should tax money be used on prison inmate education? You see how to get involved both via Twitter or through our Facebook account. Coming up next, we will switch gears, and many of you had quite a bit to say about our debate last night regarding the backlash over Daniel Mercy's paternity leave. We're going to air some of the comments we didn't get time to get to when we come back.